Hello, my name is Ian Holbrook. This is my PowerPoint presentation on my term paper for computer ethics and social issues. I wanted to explore the phenomenon of doomscrolling and its effects on our dopamine, but more importantly, I wanted to look at the dangers of short-form content. So here's a quick overview of what short-form media is, mainly how we got here. It's been popularized by platforms like Vine, TikTok, Instagram, and even YouTube now has their own shorts platform. It's characterized and defined as um, brief, very dense content. It's usually about 60 seconds long, a little bit longer, but that's sort of the sweet spot. And it's designed for endless engagement and endless scrolling. They're always filmed vertically so that you can watch them easily on your phone, scrolling with just one hand and your thumb. The problem that we see here is that it delivers addictive dopamine bursts to your brain with every scroll, and that impairs your attention and has negative effects on your mental health, and we become addicted to dopamine in our own brain chemistry. And what's the problem here is that these companies like Instagram, YouTube, they're actually profiting from user watch time with advertisements. They can put advertisements in between 2 to 3 or maybe 4 to 5 videos, and they get paid for that. So what they'll do is they'll actually make their user interface as addictive as possible because it gets users hooked, which in turn makes them more money through online ad real estate. So I wanted to start out with how we got here, and that's mainly with just the mass amount of screen time that we see in today's youth, and not just actually youth. I mean, it's mainly youth is spending hours and hours at a time, but even with older generations, they're spending 4 to 5 hours on a screen. But the most startling statistic is that 8 to 12-year-olds average 6 to 8 hours of daily screen time. And that is shocking. And that includes TV, computer, games, movies, in any form of screen. But actually 60 to 80% of those 6 to 8 hours is on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. So specifically online video. And that's where we see this phenomenon of doom scrolling. And doom scrolling is where you're watching a video and you're not really enjoying the content. You can't remember the first video, the second video you've watched, the 10th video if you watch. You're just scrolling because your brain is receiving the chemical dopamine, and you're just addicted to it, and you can't stop it. And you're almost like a drone and a zombie, and it feels awful when we sort of snap out of it, but it happens. So here's some content, specifically historical content of how we got here with short-form media in the first place. Online video has been around for a long time. It was really normalized, popularized by YouTube in 2005, dominated by longer videos. Nowadays we see the sort of 12 to 15 minute sweet spot that's you can consume in a lunch break watching a video. Those do very well on YouTube. Also does well on YouTube is long form video, and this will be like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours long videos. It'll be a video essay, and this is very educational, or it'll be a conspiracy theory video. This long form, almost like it's replaced TV or documentaries or Netflix in a sense. Vine in 2012 really introduced us to this short form media. I mean, it was 6 second clips, very joke punchline, that's it, and that was widely popular. And eventually Vine phased out, and its successor, TikTok, started off with 15-second long video, and then 60 seconds. And yes, now you can have video up to 10 minutes, but what does well on the platform is still around that 60-second mark. You rarely rarely see a 10-minute longer form video on TikTok. It's all um, very quick, very fast paced, 60 seconds. So what we see through this sort of funnel is that short form media is basically the norm. It's very bite sized, it's very easily consumed, it's very it delivers instant gratification, and it's the most available. So here's the psychological context that we see, specifically the effects that short form media has on our brain chemistry, and it has a lot to do with addiction. So our brains get hooked on the chemical release of dopamine, which is our reward chemical that we normally get with, after eating a good meal, after exercising, after completing a long task. But our brain gets hooked on it because it gets it in short bursts instantly after watching or scrolling. And our brain gets so addicted to dopamine that it's like being addicted to a drug. I mean, it basically is. That leads to dopamine chasing, which is a reliance on immediate gratification, and our brains have harder times putting forth effort to complete a task that would take longer, like the school assignment, for example. This took a lot of effort and research and time, and I'm going to receive a lot of gratification when I turn it in, when I close off all of those Google tabs from my research. That's very gratifying and edifying. But why would anyone chase that dopamine when there's an instant hit away from just looking at your phone and scrolling? You receive actually the same brain chemical, so it negatively impacts the human brain. And like I said, that has a lot to do with actual mechanics of addiction. And this is where we see platforms actually intentionally hooking their users. These apps, they mimic slot machines in casinos. There is suspense, there are small wins and near misses, which are the three factors that make slot machines so addictive in casinos. Right? When we scroll, we don't know what video we're getting next. So there's chance, and it could be a chance of an enjoyable video, or a chance of something boring that we aren't really finding interesting. The issue is that there's no consequence for scrolling. So we just scroll and scroll until we find one. And every time you find an enjoyable video, you receive a hit of dopamine. So you're hooked in this endless loop of scrolling. And it's only aided by actual app design, like the implementation of infinite scroll. Like these vertical videos are sort of stitched together at the top and bottom so that you scroll and the next one appears. You scroll and the next one appears. Basically scrolling down this infinite wall, and there's no end to the scrolling. There's no last video that you scroll to. I mean, it will just keep going and keep going through the millions and millions and millions of user-generated video. We also see things like autoplay on YouTube that just only encourages prolonged and just prolonged exposure to video. And one example of this, and part of what got me interested in this topic in the first place, because it sort of set my alarm off in my head, is I personally watched a lot of YouTube, and I would go on to watch maybe that 10 to 12 minute long video during my lunch break at work, or just something quick, some entertainment. But YouTube automatically opens up its short page, just by default. And they've edited it some, but it used to be every time. Now it's maybe every first open of the day, or something like that. But they will open shorts by default, and you get instantly distracted. You are instantly pulled into this loud, over the top, 60-second hyper condensed content, and you just begin scrolling, and you become hooked, and and you'll get in this doom scrolling cycle, and you're scrolling, and there goes your lunch break, and you didn't even get to watch the video that you were thinking of, that you had saved for your lunch break. It happens all the time, and that's actual applet design. And these user interfaces are redesigned to maximize ad revenue by prolonged user engagement. So they benefit from making it as addictive as possible, because they make money from every 5 videos that you scroll through. There's an ad, and advertisers pay huge amounts of money for that online real estate because the audience is so large, and so forth. This actually is really harmful to social and our psychological aspects of our life. This negatively impacts our attention span and our mental health. With the attention span, this rapid consumption, it trains the brain for distraction. It trains your brain that things that take a long time, and things that aren't necessarily instantly gratifying, aren't worthwhile. So, like I said, like with school, or writing an essay, or reading a book, your brain loses interest and actually has a harder time focusing after being hit with dopamine bursts just instantly. It struggles to focus and take time on things that take a lot of effort and a lot of time. Now, mental health is an interesting avenue to explore, because I wanted to look at short form content's immediate effects on mental health, not just social media as a whole, because as we've explored even in this course, social media has a plethora of negative effects on your mental health, like fear of missing out, negative body image, all this sort of stuff that comes with social media. But what specifically comes with short form media, I didn't want to hit just this general sense, the negative effects on mental health social media has entirely. But a lot of the trend that we see with this short form media consumption is it's during our downtime, it's during our breaks, and a lot of that is before bed. Most teens go to bed watching YouTube or Reels, and in fact they will say that they can't go to sleep without it. And this only encourages poor sleep. There's blue light exposure, there's rapid brain activity that you really need to be winding down before bed to get proper and good sleep. Because poor sleep leads to anxious behaviors, sleep deprivation, all sorts of issues. But ultimately that comes from the short form media consumption right before bed. So yeah, there's huge ethical concerns here on whether or not these companies, these platforms should be profiting from addictive, prolonged engagement. YouTube last year, it earned $31.51 billion US dollars in 2023 from ad revenue alone. And they won't break down how much of that is from long-form video versus short-form video. But we can assume that it's a lot from short-form, because that's been they've really been babying that project and putting it to the forefront, encouraging video creators online to prioritize that. And there's ethical questions here, like should addictive design be regulated? Instagram removed the like page on their navigation bar and replaced it with their Instagram Reels button, and it's easily accessible, and it's addictive, and it opens after you've seen all your up-to-date posts of things that you follow. Like it's so right there in your face, and it's unavoidable, and it's hooking. It catches you. And like I said, these companies profit from that, because with advertisements, they only benefit from prolonged scrolling sessions. They make more and more and more money because they get paid based off ad view and ad real estate. So the more ads you see, the richer that they get. So then they put that money back into their app design to make it more addictive. And there's a huge problem with that, because they're putting monetization and profit and money over the well-being of their users. So how do we fix this? This is a huge problem uh, that I actually think all of us can see personally in our own lives. Um, we need to emphasize and promote uplifting, um, wholesome, educational, worthwhile content. I mean, content that is not 60 seconds long and quick and action-packed and saturated. Uh, it's too much. It's too much for your brain. It's frying our dopamine sensors. So we need to personally just uh, emphasize the importance of good content because there is good stuff out there. We're just not choosing it. Uh, Parents and families, especially, have a huge responsibility on setting boundaries for screen limits, especially with these young children. 8 to 12-year-olds should not be spending 6 to 8 hours a day on screens. It's not healthy. With school and sleep, they're only left with so many hours a day. 6 to 8 hours um, is absurd. They need to be using imagination and play and cut down that screen time. It's impossible to cut it out in today's society. We just can't avoid screen time. In fact, we need it to stay up to date and informed with news and friends online. Uh, but it's in excess right now, and especially with young children, that falls on the parents. It's their job um, to manage what their children are watching. We also should establish personal detox habits, like no phones at the dinner table, no phones at social gatherings, family events. Something that me and my friends do when we go out to lunch is we make a phone stack. we put literally it'll be 8 of us out, and we'll have a stack in the middle of the table of 8 phones, so that no one can grab it. Because it's so easy to disengage from one another and, oh, I'm just checking the sports team, I'm just checking the weather, and you're just disconnected from the present, and you're on your phone. We should encourage more alarm clocks, I think, because a lot of people will use their phone as an alarm and have that as the reason why it's by their bed. But then it's right there and it's one grab away from infinitely scrolling. We need to emphasize time as a precious resource and this currency that we have in limited supply. Especially college students my age. Like, I I have to sleep maybe 8 hours. I work on top of doing school 8 hours on top of my classes. That's 15 hours a week, 16 hours a week. I have limited time to do the things that I enjoy, to play music and guitar, or read my Harry Potter book series that I've been stuck on for a while. I have limited time to do this. So more than ever, my time is precious, and I don't want to be spending it scrolling infinitely and wasting uh, this valuable resource that I have when I need to be making memories, uh, spending time with my family, my friends. So we need to emphasize that as a culture. So yeah, to conclude here, I want to emphasize that I really do think social media is neutral. It's in the same sort of space as the internet. You can't really say, oh, the internet is good or the internet is bad. It's how you use it, right? There's potential for harm. There's potential for great benefit. Unfortunately, I think social media, which caters now to short form media, I think that's impressively harmful. Um, so we need to take a look at short form media and its risks that it has, and they can be managed with discipline. That said, companies definitely need to be held accountable for their user well-being. And there needs to be some sort of regulation on addictive interface design and um, these addictive home screens and addictive video. It needs to be regulated because, as it stands, there is nothing in place to stop YouTube from making their YouTube Shorts program as addictive as possible, and it wastes their time, and they know that because they make money from it, and then they make it more addictive and make more money from it. So they know it. It's very intentional. Um, This isn't conspiratorial. It's conspiratorial. It's fact. Um, but ultimately, like I said in the previous slide, we need to encourage awareness. We need to encourage a value on time, especially in the family with youth. Um, Time's precious, and we need to not waste it on short form media that is not uplifting, um, that makes us feel sick after we watch a long stretch of a video and we can't remember what we watched. Um, so we need to encourage time and living in the present and doing the things we love. So that's it. That is my PowerPoint presentation for my term paper. This has been Doomscrolling and Dead Dopamine. I'm Ian Holbrook. Thank you.